Hello there. Welcome to another Mark Bishop Show where we talk to all sorts of geniuses on the planet, thought leaders and CEOs, people who've built businesses from nothing that have become giants. You know, people who are doing good things, helping others, employing others, making life go on. That's what we're about, isn't it? Business. Yeah. Well, everybody, my guest today is Dr. Kevin Gazzara. He's a senior partner of Magna Leadership Solutions. And before you meet the man, let's look at his academic background, because although that's not a criterion to be on this show, but I like to share, you listen to people and say, well, how would he know so well? Okay, well, he's Philadelphia University School of Business, Philadelphia, of course, PA, Master of Business Administration, cum laude, 1983, and he focuses on business management, which is very important. Drexel University, the School of Engineering, he was at Philadelphia, PA Bachelor of Science in Commerce and Engineering in 79, and had a business curriculum focus on marketing and engineering curriculum focus in electrical engineering from 2014 to 2019. And his program development courses included as well. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to Dr. Kevin. There you are, my friend.
Hi, Mark, and hi to your audience. Yes.
Yes. How have you been?
I couldn't be better.
That's all right.
Weather is beautiful. Everybody's happy and healthy in the family. So life is good. So I'm anxious to kind of share some of my best ideas with your audience as well.
That's very good of you. Thank you so much. I hope people get some really good benefit out of this with you. All that study you did, I think I left out a couple of things, didn't I? University of Phoenix too, right? Master courses in business development and leadership. Yep.
I did all my doctoral work and all my research on motivation, engagement, flow at the University of Phoenix. I have a kind of a unique distinction at the University of Phoenix. I am the very first Phoenix graduate of their doctoral program. And since they started that in 2000, we graduated 2001. They've put in, hundreds, if not thousands of people through it. So I feel very kind of lucky to be one of those pioneers. I would be what you would call an early adopter. So I always like to do that. When I was working in the high tech world,
right.
I was always adopting new technology, things that other people weren't using,
right?
Just because I'm always just kind of a curious type more than anything else.
There you go. You never know what you're going to find, right?
Exactly.
Drexel University, a master's course in engineering, management, leadership. What led you to, engineering? It's a very unique deal.
Well, I started my career in my undergrad in engineering at Drexel, and I've been fortunate I'm actually a faculty member there. I teach in their executive master's program in leadership and systems thinking.
Wow.
So I've done that for 15 years, and it's nice to give back to my alma mater. But I've always, even as a kid, I've always loved to take stuff apart. Fortunately, my parents always included it. I'd take TVs and radios and bikes and engines and whatever was mechanical or electrical, it was apart.
But you weren't one of these that took it apart and left it on the lounge room floor and never got it back together, did you?
No. We always put it back together. It didn't guarantee that there wasn't be some parts left over, but it was it really satisfied my curiosity, and my parents really encouraged me to do that, and that's kind of what led me into engineering, and problem solving.
Well, I've only got two to go. Halo College, is it? A master's courses in educational leadership. Halo.
Oh, yes. So I've been a professor at 6 different universities. The one that you're mentioning now, which is pronounced hello.
Hello.
Right. Hello.
I'd never heard of it. I'm sorry. The pronunciation wasn't good. For a minute, I thought we were in Hawaii, to be honest with you. But anyway.
It was actually in Israel. And and when I left the corporate world in 2007, 2009, one of the guys that used to manage Intel training and development in Israel called me, and a guy by the name of Dr. Shimon Amar, and said, "Hey, I've just been kind of elected as the president of this university for you to come and help me develop a master's program for educational leaders in Israel. But I wanted to model it after the work that we did together at Intel, which was very practical and applied. So I taught in Israel from 2009 till COVID hit. And then once COVID hit, everything kind of was put on hold. And of course, Israel at the moment is probably not an ideal place for me to be teaching on ground. So, but it was a great experience, and I loved the Israeli culture, and hopefully we made a difference. We had quite a couple hundred graduates from the program, and the idea was, how can we create more leaders in the educational world in Israel so that they can really change the culture, move from kind of what I would call sage on the stage, where you have the professor that's just spieling off information, to much more of an interactive, experiential work. And it worked out really well.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I don't think a lot of people learn when they're just spoken at versus being, involved with. And the last one, last but not least, Arizona State Uni, Global Institute of Sustainability, where you succeeded in securing executive master's courses in the sustainability leadership. So what was that about?
Yeah, so in, I believe it was 2015, ASU contacted me and said, hey, ASU was one of the very first, I think the first university to have a coursework, bachelor's work in sustainability. And it was funded by the Waltons, Rob and Melody Walton, the people that owned Walmart. And what they recognized was they were turning out lots of people that were had a really good understanding of what sustainability is, really kind of contributing back to the earth and doing things that made, help the environment. But they weren't getting people to move into executive positions to really make a change. So they said, hey, design an executive master's program. And we want to do that so that we can get people at a very senior level. And so they contacted me and said, hey, and I was really curious because I wasn't teaching at ASU at that time. And I said, why would you want me to do that? Why wouldn't you just get an ASU professor to do that? Plus, I had no background in sustainability. And they said, well, we have experts in sustainability, but we don't have as experts in leadership. And what the dean told me was, we did a search on LinkedIn. We wanted somebody that had a doctoral degree in leadership, had taught both online. I've been teaching online since 2000, and on ground. Had developed curriculum. I had already developed curriculum for 2 other universities, as well as curriculum at Intel. And when we put that in the search, and was located in Phoenix, right where ASU was. So when you put all those parameters in, they said you come up on the top of the list. So that's why we're contacting you.
There you go. Well, you're a bit of a brain, aren't you? Really? Eh? Not bad at what you do, right?
I would definitely say that I'm a consummate learner. The more I can learn about lots and lots of different things, the happier I am, and to share that, right? So I really love, probably the thing I love most is sharing it with others and my students so that they can be successful as well.
Right. Well, half your luck. Now, you're involved with this one with Rita C. Reed, right? Dr. Kevin Gazzara. By the way, any relation to the original actor, Ben Gazzara?
It's funny that you mentioned that, and the answer is yes.
Really? So he's one of my favorite actors back in the day.
Yes. So for people that don't know Ben Gazzara, or don't know the name, I guess he was the most famous back in the 60s. He was on a show called Run for Your Life. And he was also one of the stars in Roadhouse. So if people know, seen Roadhouse, you would have seen Ben. And Ben was a distant cousin of mine. He was my grandfather's cousin's son. Okay. My dad had met him as a kid,
Right.
But I never got to meet him. And surprisingly enough,
Right.
my best friend from first grade, when we were living back in Philadelphia before we moved to Phoenix, Arizona, was in business with Ben's wife. So he was into the beauty business as Ben's wife was. So he had lots of time to meet Ben in New York. They had a house in New York and one in LA and one in Tuscany. And he would work with Ben's wife. So he knew Ben better than I did, but I always loved hearing his stories.
So there was a linkage there, but in that era, he was, I liked his work. He was really good. I always played Mr. Nasty or something unique. But Roadhouse was amazing. I love that show. Now, let's talk about this thing you've written here, but you co-authored it, right, with Rita C. Reed.
Yes.
And it's called Ready, Set, Get Hired. Wow. Red, yellow, and green. And it's about finding engaging work using LinkedIn in a very unique and non-salesy approach. This is interesting. I've just been going through something like that. Why LinkedIn as a matter of interest?
Well, so when I left the corporate world, I spent my last 18 years at Intel, and I had lots of different jobs at Intel. I was a product manager and I was a GM for them. But my last 10 years, I spent managing Intel University, as well as managing Intel's management leadership development programs. And what I really wanted to do is I wanted to really give back. So my goal was to retire at 50, which I was able to do. I took two of my colleagues with me, and we started up a company called Magna Leadership Solutions. And in addition to kind of working with smaller companies that didn't have $10 million budgets, I also wanted to teach. And that's where I started teaching at the different universities, including Arizona State University in the School of Sustainability. Rita was actually one of my graduate students. She had graduated. She had a very good job in Houston in the oil and gas industry, working on sustainability, and suddenly got downsized. You know how that happens with many people, that one day you go in and your job's there and the next day it's not.
Well, all I see is boxes in America. People walk out with these boxes. I mean, you might have worked there for years and that's it. That's the whole lot. Everything you got is in that box.
So apparently, apparently I made a good impression and she liked me as a professor. I was, teaching leadership courses there. And she said, "Hey, I know that you're creative and I know that you're incredibly well networked and you've built, from an entrepreneurial environment, you've built a very, very good business with Magna Leadership." Right. She said, "Could you help me get a job?" And I said, "Well, Reed," I said, "we have a methodology that we use to, contact and get work through LinkedIn on, as you had mentioned before, a non-salesy approach." I said, "I think we can use the same approach for you to find a job." And I said, "Here's the deal. I will help you find a job using our approach with LinkedIn. And once you land your Nirvana job, you'll write the book, and I'll help you write the book." But Rita did most of the work. She wanted to list it with us being both authors. And I said, no. I said, "You did a good portion of the work. I helped you outline it and did the editing. So let's do it with me because I want to get you the notoriety." So she landed her Nirvana job and she wrote the book. And really what it is it's the process that we've used probably for the last at least 10 years to really work with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is for us, as teaching management leadership development programs. Right. Our flagship programs called the Leading Forward Academy is probably the best place to make contact and really get the kind of clients that we want. But it's always, I don't know if anybody's tried this, but getting a conversation with a senior manager on LinkedIn, no matter what you have, is just impossible. Or we found it was just very, very difficult. So I had this brainstorm one Sunday night, and I thought, hey, I've been writing articles. What if I just went out to my LinkedIn followers and said, "Hey, I am writing an article on," I'll give you an example, hiring and retaining the best people for manufacturing, right? That's one of our areas we focus on. And I put a quick note up. I sent it to probably about 300 of my plant managers that I have in my database. Probably got about 25,000 followers on LinkedIn, and went to sleep. The next morning I got up, and the introduction said, "Hey, I'm doing this article. I'd like to feature you in the article. Can we have a 15-minute conversation so I can get some sound bites from you?" And the next morning I woke up, I looked in my inbox, and I had 12 senior managers said, "Yeah, I'm glad to do that." I made the mistake of not turning the message off. And by Thursday, I had 77 senior people, plant managers, that wanted to have a conversation with me.
Interesting.
So what we did do is I didn't do all 77. I said, "Thank you very much. We'll hold you off for the next article." But I did have one-on-one conversations with 19 of them, and got some really good snippets from them. And once again, we don't do any selling, and there's no sales pitch here. But at the end of each conversation, after I've gotten the one or two questions, to be able to use this snippet in the article that I was working on, is I just asked the managers, "Hey, what can I do to just give back to you? What are your big struggles? Because I have articles and books and other contacts and different tools I've used. What can I give you?" And pretty much all of them just dump. They just tell you all their problems, and just listening very closely, there's always something I have that I can just give them. And then once you've had once you've made that connection with them, and I just keep that in the database as I come across more things that they're challenged with, whether it's an article or an approach or a new system we've done. I just send it to them, right? Just to keep them warm and help them, become better managers. And over time, when they have a challenge, they call you, or they send you a note and say, "Hey, you gave me this information. It was really good. Do you have anything for this?" And then since we've had that face-to-face Zoom comfort.
They've got to know you, they've got to like you, and they've got to trust you.
Yes, right.
At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, because that's what my business is about. When I produce podcasts for companies, I try to get that across to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As versus other forms of media and marketing, and 400 to 900% return of investment is what I get for my clients. And that's all through being able to what you're doing right now. And it's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But LinkedIn, look, I've done that many webinars. It doesn't matter. You get half telling you that it's gone. It's not the same as it was. Mm-hmm. You get another half telling you, well, I found it alone. I get 3 invites a day from different women. It's become a dating joint. You know what I mean? We love what you do. Tell me about it. I want to learn. Oh, come on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, you're not supposed to approach anybody straight out for business. You're supposed to be very laid back, very gentleman, touch a little note, and then have a little chatties, and this chatty and that chatty, and then, maybe you jump on them. I get 50 a day, straight to the point. I mean, do you do this? Would you like that? Do you want this? You know what I mean? So does that make it right?
Well, I think there's lots of different approaches. Our approach.
Not compared to yours. Yours is, earned, really hard earned, isn't it?
Yeah. I think one of the things, Mark, that I would say is we really try to play the long game. So if people are desperate to find a job or desperate to find clients, maybe the hard sell approach in the short term works better. But we are really much more about developing relationships.
Where coming from. I think it's a good way. The book is very good. See this down here, folks, at the bottom. The font across the bottom is a very nice gift that Kevin is giving you.
Yeah.
See that link? Write the link down, and you're getting a complimentary book.
Yes, right? Exactly.
That's the link, and you can get that because it's good reading. There's a lot of smart stuff in there. He knows what he's talking about, I tell you. Have a look at that, and I'm going to leave it up for a little while so you can get a pen if you're driving. It's difficult. I know you shouldn't be watching anyway if you're driving, but you know what I mean. Thank you for that. That's very decent of you, Kevin. I appreciate giving something to my listeners and viewers.
My pleasure.
What I'm going to say now. The last 20 years, You've been helping people find their purpose, optimize their lives, and find their flow, so to speak, right? But
Yeah.
you must have many stories, really, from your 30 years in the corporate HR world. I mean, it's all changing. I hear incredible stuff from people, corporate, but from the last 18 years plus as an entrepreneur, what's the difference? What have you found?
I think what I found is that I probably get a call, and since I left the corporate world in '07 voluntarily, um, was that I probably get a call once a month or every 6 weeks or so from someone either I've known or someone they've known, either from Intel or from other clients, companies I've worked with. And they all tell me the same thing. They say, hey, I just got downsized, or my company's closing, or I'm looking for a job. I'm not happy with the job that I have.
Right.
And they tell me the same thing, or ask me the same thing. Hey, can you just hire me? Can you just hire me and to work for your consulting firm, and I'll just work one day a week or one day a month and charge $10,000 for the consulting, and then I'll just take the rest of the month off. And I tell them it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite work like that. I said there's a lot of business development work that you have to do in order to get that 1 or 2 or 3, 4 days that you have. But I asked them the same question, Mark, and this is what I would ask the listeners or the viewers to do right now: is if you were going to interview for me, and I'd say, hey, I'm hiring experts to come work for me. Tell me a little bit. Tell me about why I should hire you. And I get the same responses. Here's my education. Here's my background. I've had 25 years doing this and 10 years doing that. And I just let them talk, right? And eventually they run out of time. And I
And you're watching nothing. No, you're not. You're watching the Mark Bishop Show. And my special guest is Kevin Gazzara. And we were talking about what, Kev?
So I think where we left off was that after people kind of give me all of their background, I ask them one critical question, and I get the same response from almost everyone. What will the next person that's interviewing for this position or is interested, for me to hire you, what will they tell me that's any different? And usually the response is the same, of like, well, they probably tell you the same kind of stuff. And my point is that if you really want to get hired, you need to be able to say what differentiates you. What's in marketing terms. When I've taught marketing MBA classes, they have something called your SCA, your Sustainable Competitive Advantage. What makes you different than all of the other people that are going to come and talk to me? So people will say, oh, well, can you give me an example? So I'll give you an example for me. I'm like, what makes me different? Of why you should hire me in particular is that, my background is in engineering. So I've done I can speak nerd. I have an MBA.
Right.
I've done all my doctoral work in organizational leadership. I built programs, and I've got 30 years of experience doing that very successfully. So getting someone that has a technical background with the academic credentials and the experience, I would challenge other people to find someone with that type of background. And I think it's the combination of those three elements that makes me a little bit unique, rather than, hey, I spent 30 years in corporate, or I have a doctorate in X, or I've developed curriculum. But putting all of those three together, particularly with testimonials and so forth that you'll see in my social media, I think is what makes it different. So I encourage everyone, think about what's the element or unique elements put together that really differentiates you from the rest. And most people haven't thought about that, and they really do need to think about that.
Okay, so that's the learning lesson with that one. If I keep asking what I want to ask you, we'll run out of time. So I better get on with what I've already prepared. What was your first thing with co-authoring experience? When you did this with retail, what was the experience like?
Well, the experience was great because I had done another book, my first book, which was called The Leader of Oz. I'd done with my business partner, so we had worked together collaboratively. That was our first book that we wrote in 2008, and then did a revision in 2011. And I did that with Dr. Ali Lakhani. And Dr. Lakhani and I, along with Marlene Lundy, the three of us left Intel altogether in 2007 to start our firm, Magna Leadership Solutions.
So there's some heavies at the top. Well, and very much indeed. You talk about that. Well, I'll come back to it. Why did you leave corporate? Well, you've shared that, haven't you? Why did you leave to become an entrepreneur? Simple answer, short answer. What would that be?
Yeah, I think the short answer is, I had a 10-year plan. I had a great coach and a great mentor at Intel.
Right.
And I'd always thought of my life in different stages. And I saw a lot of my colleagues that were waiting till 65 to retire, and I just thought that's a little bit too long. So I had this magic number of 50 to do the next phase of my life. And I've always been kind of entrepreneurial, even as a kid.
Right.
And I just wanted to experience my next phase of life.
Yeah, you want to get on with it. Doesn't matter. That's why I say passion has no age. I came out of retirement to do because I missed terribly what I did do. And I wanted to stay young to a degree. And I also want to live a bit longer. I can't play golf every day.
Yeah.
And, but what you choose, whether you want to work as hard again, when you go back to 7 days a week and 14 hours a day, you wonder if it's a good decision or not. So what tips? Well, we've touched on that too, but what's the most difficult part of building a successful business? Because the whole show's been about you making sure somebody can get a job, all right, a good job. And it must be hellishingly competitive to a degree this day and age. And not only that, you've got blessed AI sorting out the resumes, haven't you? I mean, people aren't even getting a chance. They're not even getting a chance to pitch, right? Unless the right things are right and all that jazz. I don't think that's fair. But, look, I've met tons of geniuses, I tell you now, and they'd last 5 minutes in a job that I've been in,
Mm-hmm.
What I'm getting at is it's horses for courses, in my opinion. But guys like you that have got the BAs and the this and the that, it certainly helps. And you've got discipline. That's the basic thing that's come from it. What do you think the most difficult part of building a successful business is?
Well, I would say you really have to take inventory of the uniqueness that you bring. Right, that there's lots of people out doing coaching, there's people doing consulting, whatever business, you have to take a look out there of who your competition is, right? And I think one of the things that I learned before we left the corporate world, I'm part of an organization called Target Training International, who has 8,000 different distributors, or what they call value-added associates, and I've been part of that organization for 25 years. And so I tapped into the people that had multi-million-dollar businesses before I left the corporate world. And I asked them, you're the experts, you've done this. I want to go do this. Tell me what we have to do. And I think the biggest thing they said, one of the most important things is they said, if you're going to start a business, that you need to give it 18 to 24 months. You may get some windfall profits in the short term,
right.
But they said it takes about that long. And then you have to ask yourself, am I willing, because that's time that you're not in the corporate world getting a paycheck, are you willing to invest that amount of money? So if you're, for example, if you're making $10,000 a month or $120,000 a year, that's $250,000 that you're leaving on the table because you're not working those 40 hours. And you have to say, is it worth investing that $250,000? Because most people don't think of it that way.
That's right. And is it worth that much? Do I want it that much?
Yeah. And if the answer is no, then maybe working in a corporate world may be what you're going to be required to do. And I ask everyone, when I get that phone call every month or that inquiry on email is how much money do you have that you can invest in yourself and the business?
Right.
And most people say, well, I've got 3 or 4 months. And I say, okay, well, it's time for us to have you look for a corporate job, right? Because you're not going to get your business off the ground in that period of time. And when you run out of money, and I had this with a couple of people that I coached where they only had about 5 months of money to invest. Once you get close to that 5 months and there isn't enough money to pay the bills, you start doing really, really stupid kind of stuff and start engaging in different kind of things that just doesn't fit who you are and really what your
That's right.
Your
It's all
purpose
about
is.
desperation. That's all money's good for, anyways.
Yeah.
Making it do things, spending it, turning it over, helping others. That's all money really is when it all boils down. But I understand. I've been there. I budgeted for this year. I had plenty to be able to do all the marketing I wanted to do and everything else. And an absolute dumb Aussie I was, but I got scammed very badly. And they're good. They're real good. So much so I'm trying to do a show on it, but I need a sponsor. But the reality is they took everything. Oh, not my home and cars and stuff like that, but they took all my cash flow and they took everything I had. So for me this year, trying to start, the old guerrilla warfare back in the days when you could just do guerrilla marketing and get up and get on your feet. And then you could put the money back in again and get going. It's a darn sight harder than what it was in those days, to try and do that. You're up against so much competition. And
Mark,
nobody knows you,
Yeah. Let me give you a tip, because this, or not you, but the listeners,
Sure.
tip is that, you really need to make connections, whether it's one, and it's visual connections. If you can sit down personally one-on-one, that's fantastic. But if you can't, you need to at least do kind of a Zoom call so that you can share. And what I've done with the people I work with is I ask them, what did you do last week to get your job, to get a job? And most of them sounds like this is, I went in, I applied for 30 different jobs and sent out some emails and did some posts. And I asked them the question of like, okay, if you had to pay someone for that work that you just did in the last week, what would you pay them? And I'll give you a good example of a real client I had. And he said, well, maybe $250. I said, well, you're looking for a job that's $2,500 a week that you want to get paid, and you're doing $250 work and you're not getting any results.
Right.
You have to do something different. You can't just do more of the same thing.
Right.
So I gave him the challenge. I said, I want you to find 5 potential clients, and I want you to go have lunch with them. I want you to pay for the lunch. And all I want you to do is I want you to share. He was a doctoral student of mine. I want you to share the research that you're doing, and just and connect it of how it might help them. He was in the education field. He had 5 lunches. And after he had the 5 lunches that week, he called me on Monday and said, I didn't get a job. And he didn't ask for a job. He was just trying to just give back. He says, I didn't get a job, but the one superintendent called me and said, hey, we've got about $30,000 for a research project that we've been sitting on. Would you be interested? We can't offer you a job, but would you be interested in the research project? And he said, well, of course. Did the research project, made all those connections with all the different teachers and principals, and voila, guess what? When a job opened up, there it is, right?
Well, I mean, I think that's great because you're going out after it, you see. You're not sitting on your butt just sending off AI. I mean, how do you differentiate today with, in an AI world? How do you stand out? How do you even get through the gate? Gatekeepers are tough enough to get through, never mind trying to get a job, I would imagine. And in my day, when I say my day, we're talking 80s, but the point is, you still got to present yourself. They've got to hear you. I mean, I'll give you an example. I don't believe some of the people that contact me to try and sell me something or offer a service, right?
Mm-hmm.
From companies who, I don't know, I can't even understand them, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, it's reaction and looks and how they dress. And like they've come out the woodshed. I mean, I just can't believe it. But it's okay because you're working from home. Oh, I see. And you're working online. Oh, that makes a difference. Yeah. 120,000 a year for that. Hey, give me a call. I can do with the money. Here's the deal. This book, this Leader of Oz, can be got what on Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon. In fact, we just did 2 years ago. We did the audio version of it. So
Right.
if you don't want to read it, you can listen to it,
Hey.
and it has all our best ideas about how do you build a great team.
Right.
And it's based on the Wizard of Oz, right? So all the characters parallel. So instead of Dorothy, you have Dora. Instead of the Cowardly Lion, you have Howardly Lion. So the nice thing is if you've seen the Wizard of Oz, all the character development is done. Yeah. And it's really was kind of our story of how we built teams, and we wanted to do it in a fun way rather than an academic way.
You can drive the car, listen to it, or at home. Yeah. I always advise, the different authors I interview or ask my advice about how they can market their books and so on. One of the first things I do is say, we've got to get an audio book done for you because it's just so attractable. This particular one here now, and I want to show this again for you because you're giving this away, which is very thoughtful. And all they've got to do is go to that, all you've got to do at home, wherever you are, is go to this link and you can get yourself a nice download there for free, that particular book, which is pretty nice. Do you believe partnering has helped you, Kevin, in a way, partnering with others?
Oh, Mark, that's so insightful. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've done there that we did early on was we partnered with another consulting firm, Vengel Consulting, and his expertise was around negotiations and influence. Our expertise was around leadership. But he had a business, Alan had a business that he had built for 30 years. Right. And he said, a lot of my clients really want leadership kind of stuff. He says, I don't do that, right? And I don't want to take the time to develop that. Can we co-brand our material? So we co-branded. He brought me into their clients. I brought him into our clients. And it was really a wonderful relationship that we maintained for even till today.
Right. What about any recommendations for education and training? Anything there you can advise on quickly?
Say a little bit more on education,
education and training in reference to what you want people to learn to be able to go in. Get this book, I think, that's the big thing.
Well, the Ready, Set, Get Hired book will tell you how to find the people that you want to work for. Or work with, and the Leader of Oz book will tell you how do you build great teams of how you can do it. In fact, we even have a workbook for those that want to reach out to me for the workbook. Right. That's 10 lessons of how do you apply this kind of stuff. So right. I would say get in touch with me. And the one thing I will tell everyone is that if you want to have a conversation with me on either of the books or starting up your own business or whatever, my promise to you 100% is you'll absolutely get no sales pitch from me. I'm not going to try to get you to hire me or whatever.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's so, thing with about sales pitch. The funny thing is, Kevin, I know, but the funny thing is without a sale, nothing moves in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. No ships leave ports. No manufacturers can feed a family of 7 kids. Nothing without a sale. I don't know. The point is, there's 9 out of 10 now that don't want to be sold. That's the problem. They want the damn thing, but they want it in their way, and they make the decision and how they feel about making the decision. So you've got to get under all of that to be able to get, the sale, so to speak.
Well, I would
you
say,
don't sell, and I give you that. You're a nice fella. You don't.
Yeah. Well, I would say, Mark. When I say no sales pitches, is I using kind of what I learned from Alan Vengel's work on influence is that I want to create a pull so that you want to work with me rather than a push where I'm trying to push my material on you. I like the pull approach, but if I can't do a good job to convince you I'm a good person to help solve your problems, then that falls on me. It's my problem, not yours.
All right. Well, guess what? I'm going to take you up on that.
Okay.
Just like the fellow that took him to lunch. The show goes 30 minutes. You're already at 45.
Oh, uh-oh.
Dear, oh dear. You catch more flies with honey, they say, Mark. Oh, okay. Look, the phone number is correct, 480-326-3606.
Yes, it's my direct
The
number.
email is kevin@magnaleadership.com. And you will answer, don't you? There's nothing worse than these animals that won't even return emails or phone calls, right?
Now,
Particularly
I
when
promise you'll get an answer within 24 hours.
that's decent to hear, mate. And the organization website, check out www.coachconsultants.com and magnaleadership.com. That's the LinkedIn there, the URL, Kevin Gazzara. You know, I'm still out on LinkedIn. I think you've got to be in Sales Navigator. One, you don't have a chance. Two, you've got to spend a lot of time approaching people your way, but you've got to have time to do it. If you're desperate or hungry, it doesn't work.
Right.
Facebook, and that's the last one, linkedin.com, company, and so on and so on. I do this so you can leave it up, and he's certainly worth talking to. And I think that's lovely of you to give this book so people understand. Click on the link you just joined or you missed it all. It'll be on YouTube, and it's also on millions of other social platforms and all over the place. And Kevin gets all the links, so he's going to put it on his social media and so on. You can get to watch this as many times as you want because it's well worthwhile. You're a sort of a 2-hour type interview. You know that. Don't you?
Well, I've tried to keep it more succinct.
No, you can't always rush things. I know that. It's difficult. I'm pretty formatted after 40 years of training. So, but the reality is, but I enjoy it. And there's something that can really help people because I've got a lot of friends who are out of work. And this is something I'm really thinking about creating a show on because it's starting to piss me off like it is for them. These guys are very, very, very good at what they do. They've got years of experience. We all have. And with all due respect, we leave these kids for dead coming out of university. And you know what? We're too old to get jobs.
Mm.
Too old to get jobs. How old are you? 40? Oh, come on. 14? You're too old? Give me a break. What hope is the 50, 60, and 70-year-old got? What is it with corporations? What's the matter with them? You don't have to hire them. You don't have to give them holiday pay. You don't have to give them medical. You don't have to give them nothing. They just want to work. And at the same time, hey, you get them for cheap. Anyway, that's my bit. You can help them, Kevin, please. Help these people. And it's lovely having you on the show. Thank you so much. Take care and look after yourself, won't you?
All right.